The hotel lobby smelled like polished marble and expensive perfume. Crystal chandeliers hung low from the ceiling, scattering warm light across leather sofas and gold-trimmed columns. Everything about the place whispered one message: you don't belong here unless you're important. 16-year-old Marcus Hill stood just inside the revolving door, his backpack still slung over one shoulder. He hesitated, letting the door spin behind him before stepping fully onto the marble floor. His sneakers squeaked softly, too loudly, it felt, against the silence. Marcus adjusted the strap of his backpack and glanced around. People in tailored suits moved with confidence, barely noticing him. A woman in a silk dress checked her phone while a bellhop rolled past with designer luggage. At the front desk, a middle-aged couple laughed quietly as they were handed their room keys. Marcus swallowed. He had never been inside a place like this before. "Just ask," he muttered to himself. 5 minutes, that's all." He took a step forward. That's when the voice came. "Hey, you!" Sharp, suspicious, loud enough to turn heads. Marcus froze. A tall security guard was already walking toward him, shoes clicking against the marble. He wore a dark blazer with the hotel's crest stitched on the pocket, an earpiece curled behind his ear. His eyes moved quickly, backpack, hoodie, sneakers, then locked onto Marcus's face. "Can I help you?" the guard asked, though his tone suggested the opposite. "Yes, sir," Marcus said quickly. I'm meeting someone. I just need to..." "Meeting who?" the guard cut in. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it again. The name felt heavy on his tongue. Important. Dangerous to say out loud. "I'm waiting in the lobby," Marcus tried. "He said he'd be here any minute." The guard crossed his arms. "Guests only," he said flatly. "This isn't a hangout spot." "I'm not hanging out," Marcus said, his voice tightening. "I swear, I'm just..." The guard leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Listen, kid, we've had problems before. People wandering in, trying to use the bathrooms, asking for handouts, causing trouble. I need you to leave." A couple on the sofa nearby had stopped talking. Marcus could feel their eyes on him. Heat crawled up his neck. "I'm not doing anything wrong," Marcus said. "I just need a minute." The guard straightened. "Now," he said, "or I'll escort you out." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. He thought about his mom, working double shifts, telling him to keep his head down. He thought about the email printed and folded in his backpack, the one that told him to be here, at this hotel, at exactly 3 p.m. It was 2:58. "Please," Marcus said quietly, "just 2 minutes." The guard shook his head. "Big mistake coming in here dressed like that," he said. "Come on." He placed a firm hand on Marcus's shoulder. The touch was light, but it felt like a verdict. As the guard guided him toward the exit, Marcus glanced back at the front desk, then at the elevator doors. They opened. A man stepped out. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than Marcus's entire wardrobe. The man looked up, and his eyes locked onto Marcus. The guard didn't notice, but the man did, and the color drained from his face. To be continued. The man stepped fully out of the elevator, adjusting his cufflinks as he did. He was mid-conversation with someone on his phone, but the moment his eyes settled on Marcus, his voice stopped. The phone remained at his ear, forgotten. For a split second his face showed confusion, then recognition hit him hard, like a punch to the chest. His posture stiffened, his jaw tightened, and without another word to the person on the line, he ended the call and started walking forward. "Marcus?" he said. The name cut through the lobby like a dropped glass. Marcus stopped resisting the guard's grip. Slowly, he turned around. His eyes widened. "Sir?" he said, unsure, his voice barely above a whisper. The security guard frowned. "You know this man?" he asked, tightening his hold slightly, as if suddenly unsure of the situation. The man in the suit was already there. "Yes," he said sharply, "I do." He looked at the guard, then down at the hand still resting on Marcus's shoulder. "Take your hand off him," the man said. The guard hesitated. "Sir, this kid was being removed. He's not a guest." "I didn't ask for an explanation," the man interrupted, his tone calm but dangerous. "I asked you to remove your hand." The guard did. The man turned fully to Marcus now, his expression shifting. The hardness faded, replaced by something else: concern, relief, and underneath it all, guilt. "I told you to wait by the front desk," he said. "I told them you were coming." "I tried," Marcus said quickly. "I swear I did. I was just standing." "I know," the man said. "I believe you." He reached into the inside pocket of his suit and pulled out a leather wallet. With deliberate slowness, he opened it and removed a black card embossed with the hotel's logo in gold. He placed it in the guard's hand. "This," he said, "is my personal access card. This young man is here at my request. He is my guest." The guard stared at the card, then up at the man's face. "Mr. Whitmore," he said quietly, "I didn't realize." "No," Whitmore said, "you didn't." The lobby had gone completely silent now. Conversations had stopped. Even the front desk clerks were watching. Whitmore turned slightly so everyone could hear. "This is Marcus Hill," he said. "The reason I'm in this city today, the reason this hotel is hosting tonight's private event, and the reason I asked for complete discretion." He looked back at Marcus, his voice softening. "You made it," he said. "I was worried you wouldn't." Marcus nodded, his hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. The bus was late. Whitmore placed a steadying hand on his shoulder, this time gently, protectively. "To be clear," Whitmore said, his eyes returning to the guard, "this young man is not trespassing, he is not lost, and he does not need to explain why he belongs in this building." The guard swallowed. "I was just doing my job." Whitmore held his gaze. "Then I suggest you do it better next time." He turned back to Marcus. "Come," he said, "there are people upstairs waiting to meet you. People who have been trying to find you for years." As they walked toward the elevators together, Marcus glanced back once. The guard was still standing there, frozen in place, the black card heavy in his hand, only now beginning to understand who Marcus really was, and how badly he had misjudged him. The elevator doors closed behind them with a soft chime, sealing off the lobby and the staring eyes. Marcus stood stiffly beside Whitmore, his reflection wavering in the polished steel walls. His heart was still racing, his palms damp, his thoughts tangled. "I'm sorry," Marcus said suddenly. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Whitmore turned to him. "You didn't cause anything," he replied. "You were treated unfairly. There's a difference." The elevator began its ascent. The numbers climbed in silence. "You look taller," Whitmore added after a moment, a faint smile touching his lips. "Last time I saw you, you barely reached my shoulder." Marcus shrugged, unsure how to respond. "That was years ago." "Yes," Whitmore said quietly. "It was." They stepped out onto the top floor. The hallway was carpeted in deep blue, the walls lined with framed photographs of city skylines and famous guests. At the end of the corridor, double doors stood open, light spilling out along with the low murmur of voices. Inside, a long conference room buzzed with anticipation. Men and women in suits stood around a glass table, some reviewing documents, others checking tablets. When Whitmore entered, the room went still. "That's him," a woman near the window whispered. Whitmore nodded once. "Everyone," he said clearly, "this is Marcus Hill." All eyes turned to Marcus. He felt his chest tighten, the familiar urge to shrink, to disappear. But Whitmore placed a reassuring hand on his back and guided him forward. "This young man," Whitmore continued, "submitted a solution to a problem our research division has been stuck on for over 10 years. Not as a joke, not as a guess, but as a fully reasoned model." A man at the table leaned forward. "You're saying he did this alone?" Marcus cleared his throat. I like math," he said. "And patterns. The numbers didn't make sense the way you were looking at them." A few people exchanged glances. Whitmore smiled. That email you sent? We thought it was a hoax. Then we ran the numbers. Twice. Then we flew me here. He looked at Marcus, his expression serious now. You were expelled from your last school for disruptive behavior, Whitmore said. But what they really meant was that you asked questions they couldn't answer. Marcus's jaw tightened. They said I didn't belong in advanced classes. Well, Whitmore replied, turning back to the room. That's about to change. He gestured toward a large screen at the front of the room. Marcus, would you like to explain your model? Marcus hesitated. Every instinct told him to refuse, but then he remembered the guard's hand on his shoulder, the stairs, the assumption. He stepped forward. As he began to speak, the room changed. Skepticism gave way to curiosity, curiosity to astonishment. Equations filled the screen. Corrections, elegant solutions. By the time Marcus finished, no one was whispering anymore. One of the senior researchers exhaled slowly. My God, he said. He's right. Whitmore glanced at Marcus, pride unmistakable in his eyes. Downstairs, in the lobby, the security guard was still replaying the moment in his head. The elevator doors opening, the man's expression, the name spoken aloud. Marcus Hill. Only now did he understand the weight of the mistake he'd made. And upstairs, Marcus was finally standing exactly where he belonged. The room stayed quiet long after Marcus finished speaking. The screen behind him still glowed with equations and diagrams, frozen mid-proof, as if even the technology needed a moment to catch up. Marcus shifted his weight, suddenly aware of how fast his heart was beating. He clasped his hands together to keep them from shaking. Finally, the woman by the window straightened and broke the silence. How old did you say you were? 16, Marcus answered. A low murmur spread through the room. That's impossible, one man said, though his tone wasn't dismissive anymore. It was stunned. This model fixes the instability we've been fighting for years. Whitmore folded his arms, watching Marcus instead of the others. He didn't fix it, he said. He rethought it. Another researcher rubbed his forehead. Do you know what this could mean? He asked Marcus. If this holds, it changes the entire project. Marcus hesitated. I just didn't understand why everyone kept forcing the same assumption, he said. So I removed it. The man let out a short laugh. Of course you did. Whitmore stepped forward. Marcus, he said gently, there's something you should know. Marcus looked up at him. The scholarship fund you applied 2 years ago, Whitmore continued. The one that was mysteriously closed before they reviewed your application. Marcus nodded. He remembered that email. Polite, cold, final. Whitmore's jaw tightened. It was mine. I started it, and when I finally read your essay, months too late, I realized we'd made a terrible mistake. The room was completely still again. I've been looking for you ever since, Whitmore said. Different schools, different addresses. You kept slipping through the cracks. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a pressure he hadn't known was there. Why? He asked quietly. Why look for me? Whitmore didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was steady, but his eyes weren't. Because I grew up being told I didn't belong either, he said. And because genius ignored is still genius wasted. He turned to the others. We're not here to test Marcus, he said firmly. He's already proven himself. We're here to decide how we're going to support him. A woman near the table spoke up. Full scholarship, immediate placement, mentorship, and protection, another added. From schools that don't know how to handle talent that doesn't look the way they expect. Marcus blinked. You mean I wouldn't have to go back? Whitmore shook his head. Only if you want to. For the first time that day, Marcus smiled. It was small, cautious, but real. Down in the lobby, the security guard stood at his post, watching guests come and go. Everything looked the same as it always had. Polished floors, quiet luxury, rules clearly posted, but nothing felt the same. Every time the elevator doors opened, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He kept seeing the boy's face, hearing the name, remembering how easily he'd assumed he knew the whole story. And several floors above him, Marcus Hill sat at a glass table surrounded by people who were listening, really listening, as if his voice mattered. For the first time in his life, no one was asking him to leave.